To all of you to the Geneva Press Club here in the Domaine de Pente, next to the United Nations. Welcome also to all the audience that follows us and the press that follows us on Zoom. You will perhaps have questions later on through that media. And also welcome to all the people following us on our website, www.pressclub.ch. Or we can be this ceremony can be followed on YouTube, on Facebook too. So we will have a larger audience on these social networks. So we are very pleased to have with us today Gurudev, Ruetschi. I didn't know exactly what's the right name to use, but I was told that both are possible. So that's perfect. Welcome to you. And Mr. Glaser, who is the CEO of TLEX and who is a member of the board of the Art Living Foundation, will make a short introduction to present you. And then we have Louisa Balin, international journalist in Geneva here at the UN also. She will have a conversation and ask you a few questions about your mission here and your peace mission in general. So, and then you will have the opportunity to ask a few questions for about 10 minutes or so. So again, welcome to all of you, and especially welcome to Gurudev. I will ask you perhaps, as Mr. Glaser will take the floor to present you, I will ask you to sign our golden book, if you don't mind, here. Yes, just wherever you want. You can just sign or write. Thank you very much. Yes, please. That's great. Thank you very much. And without waiting, I will pass the word to Mr. Christoph Glaser. Welcome to you also. I give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ruetschi. It's definitely a great honor and also a challenge to introduce a person who probably doesn't need any introductions and is certainly bigger than life, but I would like to highlight 5 aspects. First of all, Gurudev Ravi Shankar is the founder of the International Art of Living Foundation, and with the foundation he's supporting the mission to create a violence-free, a stress-free society. He has created and brought to the world a technique called Sudarshan Kriya, called SKY, and it is so impressive to understand that 500 million people around the world have learned these techniques and benefited personally. Secondly, he's the founder of the International Association for Human Values, based out of Geneva, founded in 1997. Unfortunately, Mr. Dasha Kharti, the president, is not available today to join, and with that he supports the peacekeeping activities around the world. For example, also, he has supported and initiated a program called Prison Smart, for prisoners to find that inner peace and an ability to go back to society once they come out of the time at prison, and more than 800,000 prisoners have been able to benefit from that. In the context of today, probably it will be important to mention that Ruetschi Ravi Shankar not only meditates, but also acts as a peace mediator, and that is more important than ever. He has been able to support the resolvement of conflicts in Sri Lanka. He has been acknowledged by the government to help end the FARC conflict in Colombia. He has supported the Kashmir conflict, and I think it is super important to mention that he has been able to find an amicable settlement to the long-standing Ayodhya conflict. In recognition of his initiatives, the Supreme Court of India appointed him as one of the 3 mediators to resolve the dispute, and the 500 years old issue found the conclusion in 2019. Fourth aspect, Gurudev, I would like to highlight that I think one of your first initiatives has been the founding schools, value-based education. I know that Banu Didi, his sister, is here. More than 700 schools in India, free schools, today are there, and more than 70,000 children every morning go to school thanks to Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar and his sister. They are having food and they learn the skills of life. And last but not least, I would like to personally mention that Gurudev, I feel you're walking the talk. And that is so inspiring, I think, in the tradition of Mahatma Gandhi. It is not that Gurudev is speaking about peace, but you can feel it in his presence. So that would be the 5 aspects which I would like to contribute. And I would like to hand over to you, Ms. Balen.
Thank you very much. And now we go to Louisa Balin, who will take on the conversation with Gurudev. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Shri, for being with us today. Welcome. What an impressive challenge that I have today to this conversation with you. My first question will be, what is your approach or your secret, maybe? Because you have been in a mission in several countries with different culture. Colombia with the FARC, Sri Lanka, India, the United States, Iraq. How do you proceed with these different communities to approach and to interact with them? What is your approach?
First of all, you start feeling you are a global person. You belong to the world. We have only one world. And my concept has always been the whole human race is as one family. You know? So when there is a sense of belongingness, it doesn't become difficult for you to connect. And then when you don't have any type of prejudice or barriers or boundaries that you put on yourself between you and others, then, communication becomes much easier.
Communication becomes easier, but of course there is a first step.
Correct.
Give us an example, please. For instance, when you are talking with FARC and with the Colombian government, for instance, how do you approach them? I'm sure that you read a lot about the situation of the country, but how do you proceed?
Challenges are always there. When they first saw me, they said, "No, we have nothing to do with any spiritual, religious people. We only believe in Karl Marx. We can't have any dialogue. It ends there, you see." But then, slowly, in the next few hours, they become curious. I said, I understand your point of view. I know you're also victims. You're not having fun in the forest, fighting for a cause. But let's take the non-violence as our guiding principle. Why not we do that? So when I spoke to them, and then, they started turning around. There was a change, visible change in them. The next 3 days, I had dialogues with them. And the last day, they came with me to the press conference, press club in Havana, and they announced they will adopt Gandhian principle of non-violence. So I think there is that humanness in everybody. It just needs the trust to be built. The bridges need to be built. I think that is very important. The reason for any conflict is breaking down of trust. Mm-hmm. And as a neutral person, you can always bridge. That's why it's very important for anyone who wants to mediate to keep their neutrality, not take sides.
Not take sides. And you said after 3 days they came with you to give a press conference. During those 3 days, what did you tell them? And how did you interact with them?
Well, I was speaking to them, and I told them I do understand them, their predicament. They also lost a lot of their cadres, and their goal was to bring social justice, and then meditation helps. I did do a guided meditation with them, 20 minutes. That calms down the mind. See, when our mind calms down, we become better listeners. We are able to hear better, think better, perceive better, express better. So we did some meditations, and then I explained to them the principle of non-violence. And, you know, they all melted. They were good human beings. I could see the goodness. Then, afterwards, we did a forgiveness exercise with them. This you must have heard. We brought the victims in front of them and they asked for forgiveness. And that is a very moving moment. Same in Kashmir also we did, you know. There were militants whose families were there, and we brought those families and the families of the victims of terrorism, we brought them together. And when they came face to face with each other, first there was flare-up. There was so much anger.
Yes.
But then, you know, it subsided. We were there to douse the fire a little bit. And then, you know, that it was such a moving experience. They could forgive each other. They hugged each other. They understood, you know, human values of compassion, of that is more important than hatred and tit-for-tat attitude.
So before gathering them, how do you convince them to come and to accept to interact with you?
That is my secret.
This is why we want to know your secret, of course.
That's what we did, you know, we spoke to them each of whatever was interesting to them, and then they were all just ready to come and meet with me. Though they didn't know each other, that the other party will also be coming. So when they came, and then, you know, the misunderstandings, all those stuff started flying away, and the humanness came up.
And with Iraq, for instance, you were active also
yes,
in Iraq?
Yes, in Iraq also did this. When I was in Iraq, in Baghdad, you know, they had the green zone, so they wouldn't let me go to the red zone. I told the government I am not come here just to be in the fortress of security. I would like to go to the red zone. They said that you have to do with your own risk. You know, we will not recommend you. Because a few days back, Tony Blair was there, and then there was a bomb blast. So they said, you cannot, we won't let you go. But then I pleaded them, no, please give me a chance. So when I went there, I sat with the people there, spoke to them. You know, it made a difference, you know, when you go with the humanitarian approach. After all, they're all human beings, and they listen.
And it's important, perhaps for them also, to know that somebody is coming there to listen to them, to their reality.
To them. Right. See, each person has their own perception and their own concept of what is true for them. They have their own realities. And so when we are neutral, we can talk to them, have a dialogue, and we give them idea. We understand them. We understand their predicament. And so they get open to dialogue. I'm very keen to start dialogue even now. Or wherever there is a dialogue happening, I would love to be in that. Love to be a part of that, so that when it is about to break down, I can get in and douse the fire and see how talks can continue.
As a prevention.
As a prevention.
Sometimes it's difficult, I imagine, in certain situations, and quite dangerous also. How do you, I mean, there are a lot of conflicts today in the world. How do you choose, or how do you, and when do you decide to get in, let's say?
No, you know, when there is a conflict, it is a very natural instinct in me. I just want to jump in, and I don't wait for someone to invite me usually. But some places you can't get in, that is the difficulty. Right now, this Ukraine and Russian conflict, I very much would love to be part of it and see how we can salvage the talks that goes on. 2-3 times the talks started failing, falling apart. I think a global vision that we are all part of one planet Earth, and we are all part of one human race, That reigns most important. And seeing life from a broader picture, a broader perspective, opens up the minds and hearts of people. That's my experience.
But you mentioned precisely Ukraine. Would you ask to have a possibility to go there, or how do you proceed?
I am asking. I am even now asking. Let me be part of your dialogue. You know, when you talk with each other, if I can just be an observer, and if I can do something, contribute to douse the fire, give a better understanding or bigger picture, I would love to do it. Though it may sound to be an utopian theory, but that's how it felt with FARC also, with Kashmir and with other places. But now I'm really think there is the possibility of bringing people together, make them understand the consequences of a war and disastrous war.
The people that you meet, they learn a lot with the talks with you. What do you learn from those experiences each time?
Each time it amazes me how communication keeps breaking down in the world over small, petty, selfish interests. And how people are right in their own logic, in their own way. If you listen to one party, you will find that they're 100% right. And you listen to the other party, you will find they're also right. So make them meet, and coming to a meeting point is a challenge in itself. And that you can do if you have clarity in your mind.
Does it mean that in this violent world of today, non-violence still has a role to play?
Absolutely. Non-violence is the way to go ahead. And it will only bring the desired result of freedom, prosperity, self-reliance, all that.
Did you always have this concept on you when you were very young, a child? How did you step by step arrive to this situation?
When I was a child, my teacher who taught me basically alphabet was one who was with Mahatma Gandhi. And then my other teacher, Vedic teacher, he lived with Mahatma Gandhi for 40 years. So they used to tell us all the stories that they had with Mahatma Gandhi and how he used to handle situation. So it was a very inspiring, anecdotes that we grew up hearing. So, and also I would say in those days, the society, it was so well ingrained about values of non-violence, compassion, putting others first, not self-assertion all the time. These are all considered to be virtues or part of culture. So, of course, we are moving away from those values today a lot. But those are the values that we grew up, and so it's just my nature.
And you work also with young people in different countries, in India, but also in other countries?
Yes. We were working with the juvenile offenders, in Panama, in Mexico. Mexican government has assigned a big, about 150, lots of youths there to train them, to rehabilitate them. We had done recently about 3,000 young people in Mexico, and also in South America and many places. And prison work is something we have been doing around the world. I see inside every culprit there is a victim crying for help. We are doing it in Denmark, in Norway, and in Argentina, Brazil. In all these prisons you will find, our programs are happening.
And in United States also, you work with people, troops coming
Yes,
home?
yes. We have a program called Welcome Home Troops in the US, where so far about 6,000 prisoners, 6,000 troops who have come back from Afghan and Iraq war, they were having PTSD problem. And just imagine 27 soldiers take their life off every day with suicide, incidents of suicides. These programs we do, Welcome Home Troops, have helped people to get back on track and has prevented suicidal tendencies.
And what is for you the main element in order to convince and to help people not to commit suicide and to still believe in life?
This is where our breathing technique helps. See, mind is, you can't directly deal with the mind. Either you have to take tablets and to substance, you have to change the mind, or through breath. Our breathing has a deep connection with our emotions. In theatrical schools, they tell you when you have to express some emotion, you have to breathe differently. So here we teach them certain breathing exercises so that they can manage their mind, they can get out of depression, suicidal tendencies, or low feeling. You know, especially after this pandemic, world over, healthcare professionals were at total burnout. So I conducted myself program for them, about 1 million people around the world, healthcare workers. They did meditation with me over a period of time, and you know, they find it more energetic afterwards. They're able to cope up with their stress, feel better. All these works are happening.
Before giving the floor to the audience, because I know that there are questions, I would like to ask you, what is the main message that you want to send out here in Geneva?
Today, you know, from here, Geneva is a place for peace. It has always stood as a peacemaker in the world. So from here, day before yesterday, I announced the program called I Stand Up for Peace. This is the mission I'm going to carry for next few months, saying every individual say, I stand up for peace. You know, because today, after the pandemic and on top of this, the war, there is such a gloomy feeling, energy. And there is prejudice against people for no mistake of theirs, because their nation is going on war. So there is all anger towards a section of society. So I want to divert this energy, the negative energy of people or depression, to something positive. So the positive message is, if we all stand up for peace, then it empowers us, it creates a better atmosphere around us. And everybody wants to do something, they feel so helpless. But if we all start with the campaign, we stand for peace, I'm sure it will resonate in the international circles, and people would find that there is hope. There are people who are standing up for peace, and this will come up.
Before I give back the floor to Pierre, are you always so optimistic, or sometimes do you feel that you need also to get energy, because you give so much energy? How do you get energy?
I know I have the techniques that works. I use it myself.
Thank you so much. Pierre?
Thank you very much, Gurudev. Thank you very much, Louisa, for this very interesting talk. If you don't mind, I would like to ask you one more question about the war in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war. And one question that all people think about is, when is the situation ready for peace? Is there a precise moment, you think, when the two parties in the conflict are ready to start to talk, really? And what would be your take on the situation in Ukraine? Is it still far away, or can it go fast?
If you ask me, it is always good time to talk, come to talks. Dialogue is the way. War is not the way. And both countries have now realized that the amount of destruction it has happened, both sides, is immense. And the impact it has on the whole world is, you can't even explain how much it has impacted the lives of people. So it is high time there should be some give and take, and people come on table and ease out tension, not take it as ego issue, but should be a win-win situation for both.
Thank you. And now I turn myself to the audience. So I know that there are a few academics also in the room. So any questions are welcome. You can just raise your hand, and we have a microphone that will start flowing. Yes, lady here, microphone is coming. Please just tell your name and the organization that you're working for, if there is any.
My name is Agnieszka Lintowska. I am a psychologist from Wrocław Medical University in Poland. And
can you talk a bit louder, please?
Okay. I am from Poland, from Wrocław Medical University. I am an associate professor. And I would like to ask Gurudev about, for me, very, very important things. Now we have 2.5 million refugees from Ukraine in Poland. And we are working a lot. And I know about your mission in Colombia. And I thought that I understood everything. But now I have for me it's very difficult to be neutral. And you told that you are neutral, so you can be a bridge. And I know this history for women and children in Ukraine. It's very difficult for me. I can feel a pain. So I would like to ask what to do to be neutral, to help them, because we have to be strong.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. We are working with the refugees, and we have housed all our centers in Poland, in Hungary, in everywhere in Germany, open for refugees. We are first to bring them, and we are housing them, and we are giving them all the basic needs, food and other things. We are doing that work. Our volunteers are engaged day and night in bringing people to safe places, both inside Ukraine and outside Ukraine. I'm visiting Warsaw next week. Sunday I'll be there. I'll be visiting the refugee camps and talking to them. What they need now is a trauma relief program, because they are so traumatized, they are unable to sleep, they have fear and anxiety and tension, so our volunteers are working for them. This is with the refugees, but with the government talks, now I'm still trying to find a way to get into the talk situation, which I would take any help from anywhere.
Thank you. Still another question here. So,
Christoph Lüttke, Technical University of Munich. So first of all, let me express my happiness to see you back in person here after 2 years of this pandemic, and so I'm very glad that we all can get together again here. And I have a question related to the pandemic, because I know, of course, that you are working on mental health. I remember your mental health conference online last year, I see a lot of division, division in our societies now, everywhere, in our society, in Germany, but also in other countries. There is, with the Ukraine conflict, there we have this external conflict, but we have a lot of internal conflicts now in society, which not always get violent, but they are mentally divided, if you want. And this is something I hope not, hopefully I'm wrong, but it might stay even after the pandemic. So I would like to hear from you your thoughts about how to cross this division within our societies.
Yeah, the situation has caused two extreme emotions in people. Either people are getting so depressed or they become so aggressive. So it's both are not normal. They go to the extremes. To bring them to the middle path, to make them feel healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally. We are doing number of programs. We have designed 57 different workshops for people to get back on track, right from universities to people, the incarcerated people everywhere. And children, kids for example. For 2 years they could never go out and play sports. They couldn't kick the ball for 2 years, and there is so much frustration. So how do they manage that mind, emotions? For this we have several techniques and several short courses, programs for them, seminars, and it has been benefiting people tremendously. They can go to our website and find out all the different courses.
Thank you. Those who are listening to us on Zoom can also ask questions, and you can raise your electronic hand at the bottom of the screen. But let's stay here in the room with our audience. Is there any other questions? Here, sir. The mic is coming to you.
Abdeljalil Akari, University of Geneva. Thank you for your strong message, and I liked your approach, meaning that if we want to make peace, we need to think about one world and one humanity. However, when we look to globalization, we observe that there is winner and loser in the globalization. And in many, even democratic European countries, right-wing political movements are in power or near power. So how do you think that it is possible to convince these 30 or 40% of political body that are not thinking about shared humanity, but different humanity?
Well, I think less said is better when it comes to politics. Wherever there is groupism, it is very congenial for politics, because that is a easy way to get votes. But what I'm saying here is, it is basic insecurity in people that pushes them to right wing or left wing. Either right wing or left wing. It is insecurity. It's a sense of lack of belongingness with other groups and other people, and more sense of isolation. So a social transformation is needed for this, wherein a healthy mindset has to be developed, where you don't feel so insecure, you don't get upset at the drop of a hat, and you don't lose your temper and start pelting stones and engage in violent activities for nothing, no apparent reason. This is one thing. Second is social media, has done a lot of good, and it has also raised many questions than answers when it comes to spreading the right news, the proper information. False information can also trigger a lot of pent-up anger and frustration in people. This is also happening around the world. I want to tell you this, many places. So it all needs a very holistic approach and a lot of work. And patience, yeah. Louisa added that, the patience, yes.
We have time for one more question. There are two. Let's take this one, perhaps, sir, here. Yes.
Thank you. This is Shamik from University of Lugano.
Can you speak louder, please?
Is it okay now? What is the root cause of all these conflicts? The world has seen conflicts stretch decades, centuries. If we go all the way back, can we find out the exact reason one party inflicted something to the other and that snowballed down the timeline?
Yeah. The root cause of conflict is self-interest being threatened, number one. If one's self-interest is threatened, conflict will arise, number one. Second, lack of communication and breakdown of trust. Third, breakdown of trust.
So we take one last question, sir, in the back.
Hi, I am Apur. I work for the Central European Institute for Nuclear Research. My question is not related to science, but you said something about the false information. Nowadays, all these social media platforms is full of only false information, and it is very dangerous. 3 times we read it, we start believing it. What can be alternatives for such information to?
No, let me do a little correction in what you said. Not all information social media is wrong. No. We can't put in one corner everything. Social media has done so much good to society. It has made news accessible to people much quicker and more authentic. Having said this, yes, false information is also spreads very fast and people start believing in it. This is a challenge. This is a danger. So people should always make sure they recheck and double check or triple check before they start believing, not blindly believe anything because it is in social media.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for these last words. Very important here at the Geneva Press Club. Double check the information. We just can agree with that, and this is really a basic rule to get your way on the social network. That's absolutely true. So thank you very much for this, your message, for your message of hope, message of peace also, and for your engagement for that. I know you have more events this late afternoon at WIPO, I guess, to bring out your message. We wish you a nice day in Geneva. Thank you also to the audience that came in to share this moment, and also to all the people and the audience following us on Zoom and online on our website. So now we can meet for a networking moment. We have a small coffee lunch, and it's open to all of you for sure. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.